Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Mass Effect 3, a finale with impossibly high expectations. Does Mass Effect 3 now fare better in closing out the series than it did on release? Let's find out. Mass Effect 3 is the 2012 conclusion to the trilogy, with impossibly high expectations around how everything and your choices would lead to some kind of resolution, and it mostly works. Emphasis on mostly. The Reapers are here, and their first target's Earth, because of course it is. After successfully invading our solar system, Shepard barely escapes, and is tasked with enlisting other alien factions to join him in one final fight to try and end the Reaper threat, and build the big MacGuffin that only shows up in this game for some reason. However, it turns out the other races have their own problems to deal with before joining up. So as usual, Shepard has to recruit his diverse crew of space weirdos, and then go solve everybody's problems they can't solve themselves. I'll touch on the story bits a little more in the pros and cons. Suffice to say, this marks the conclusion of 3 big arcs across the series, and 2 of them end fantastically. Your choices are also much more significant this time around, with Renegade finally being less Paragon but rude, and leading to some actual horrific results as Shepard gets more and more desperate for help. Structurally, the game is very similar to Mass Effect 2, just slightly tweaked. You still have your third-person squad shooting with powers that share cooldown, and power combos are even stronger this time around. A nice improvement is the weight system. With the less heavy weapons you carry, the faster your skills cool down, finally allowing for a pure skill build, which is the funnest way to play, just saying. Because of the Reaper invasion, there's considerably less cities to visit, just the Citadel really, and exploring the galaxy can be dangerous. Probing plants is gone, replaced by scanning them from the map to find useful stuff, though this has a chance to spawn Reapers to chase you around. They're more an annoyance than an actual threat. Your overall goal is galactic readiness, basically a number that goes up as you solve problems, large or small, and commodifies your many connections you've made throughout the series. Getting it high enough slightly alters the ending, that's really it. The highlight is the characters from both games will make appearances based on who you kept alive, allowing for some fun interactions to see how things changed in wartime. Also, there's more wrecks, which is always a good thing. There's probably more to say, but at its core, that's Mass Effect 3. The gameplay is almost identical to 2, but somehow even further streamlines as you aim to solve everyone's problems through dialogue checks. So what I like about Mass Effect 3? Well, the resolution of the big side conflicts was the absolute highlight of the game and probably the series for me. Curing the Genophage and the Geth conflict are 2 of the single most memorable moments in games that I've ever had. And it's especially so with how they incorporate decisions made across the previous 2 games to make it even more satisfying. Additionally, combat mechanically is the best it's ever been, with a stronger emphasis on skill combos, making team comps fun to play around with, and being able to play pure biotic or tech is super fun. And lastly, the Citadel DLC gets its own bullet point because it's not only a fantastic little side story with the Mass Effect 3 crew, but the party after where you get to see your whole crew across the entire series goof off and hang out is the best kind of fan service. Though I was kind of sad Yeoman Chambers didn't make it. When it comes to the bad, the endings are still unsatisfying. I actually liked the concept of a no-win scenario, with the Star Child explaining how to pick your ending paired with each ending not focusing enough on your personal connections throughout the series made the whole thing feel rushed. It was too macro and it needed more micro. Additionally, while the combat is the funnest it's ever been, it's hampered by every mission being the same linear corridor shooter or wave-based survival encounter with the same 2 batches of enemies, generic Cerberus goons or the limited Reaper roster. It gets tired. And lastly, this game just has a lot of bizarre design choices. I already mentioned the endings, but stuff like Reapers chasing you around the world map, EDI's design feeling like a complete style mismatch, middling side missions, fewer dialogue checks, and more. It feels like it has a lot less of a cohesive through line design-wise than its predecessors. As you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale. Must play, maybe consider, and don't bother. And Mass Effect 3 definitely has a bunch of problems. Its biggest being its still unsatisfying ending to the Reaper conflict. But that doesn't diminish how well the other big plot arcs are resolved, nor how engaging its new combat and story beats play out. It's still an emotional powerhouse, with resolutions for characters we've cared about for multiple games requiring incredibly tough decisions with dramatic payoffs. I still think 2 is the best in the series, but I don't think I'll ever forget the choices I had to make in 3. Play this trilogy, it is still phenomenal. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you played Mass Effect 3, were you one of the many disappointed by the way the endings played out? Has your opinion changed? Let me know what you think in the comments. Regardless, go out there and make sure you play the Mass Effect trilogy.